Now, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hey, APWA in the house. You know, I have to be honest, when they first called me to be here, I thought they made a mistake because I'm from Los Angeles. We don't know anything about snow in Los Angeles, okay? 70 degrees is cold for us. And then I heard the theme, people, presence, purpose. And I thought, I'm totally the right person to be here. I like people, sometimes. You know, when they're nice to me, I like people. I really like purpose. We're going to talk about purpose a little bit later on, but I love presence. Presence is my jam. I have been studying presence for as long as I can remember. I mean, I was an actor in Hollywood where I was morphing my own presence into different characters. I taught presence to professionals in corporate America. I've been making my living off presence for a very long time. And I want to tell you about the first time I discovered the true power of presence. It was the first time I ever went to jail. Hold on. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what kind of talk is this about to be? You know, I thought this was supposed to be some motivational talk. And what do you mean the first time? Is she a repeat offender? What's going on here? I want to reassure you, I was there not because I did anything wrong. I was there to facilitate a personal transformation workshop to a group of men in the Los Angeles Men's County Jail. Yes, the Los Angeles Men's County Jail. So before I went, I thought I was going to be talking to a group of about 12 to 20 men, you know, a smaller group of men. When I got there, it was me and 50 men in their jailhouse blues with the cell door, clink, locked behind us. And the guards were on the other side. I was like, hey, don't forget I'm in here. Come back 90 minutes later. Some were tattooed up. They looked like they were in gangs. Some were a little more clean cut. I was a little worried about those guys. To say I was intimidated is an understatement. I mean, I was there for personal transformation in the Men's County Jail. How's this going to go, Michelle? But to my honor and my surprise, they listened to me. They followed my lead. Not just that day, but every week for the next 8 months. And I was told that the reason why they accepted me in that position of authority was because of my presence, because of the way I showed up, because of the way I talked to them, because of the way I engaged with them. I let them know that I was authentic. My presence was authentic. I was there speaking not just from a place of, the textbook. I was there speaking from a place of experience. And I had had many of the same experiences that put people at risk of incarceration as they had. My presence was confident. I believed in my ability to reach those men and share information that would help them think about themselves differently. My presence was purposeful. I was there to contribute something of value and make sure that when they left jail, they didn't come back. Authenticity, confidence, and purpose. This is the magic formula for presence. And not just any old kind of presence, the kind of presence that makes people want to know you, want to listen to you, want to be around you. And this is universal, by the way. I found this is universal. Over the last 10 years, I've worked with hundreds of people, hundreds. And I discovered that no matter the role, no matter the level, no matter the industry, there are people who have presence and people who don't. And the ones that have presence tend to have three things in common. You get a sense that they know who they are and they're comfortable in their own skin. You get a sense that they believe in themselves and their abilities and that they're motivated and engaged in what they're doing. They have authenticity, confidence, and purpose, the magic formula. And when people don't have presence, the opposite tends to be true. They're not comfortable in their own skin, they don't believe in themselves, and they're not engaged in what they're doing. And I know this idea of presence, what is it, right? It's a little intangible, it's a little hard to describe, but I can tell you that not having it can have a very real cost. It can keep you from being taken seriously in your role. It can create a perception of you that isn't who you really are, and it can be the one thing holding you back from moving forward in your career. How many of you want to move forward in your career? Anybody want to move forward? You got some career aspirations? You want to do some things? Is Dom in the room? Where are you, Dom? There's Dom. I was talking to Dom yesterday and I asked him, what are the opportunities for career advancement in the APWA? Oh my gosh, so many different things. How many of you have aspirations for being that manager or that supervisor or that leader, whatever leadership role you want to be in? I can tell you that leadership isn't just about being good at your job. It's about how people experience you as you're doing your job. Are you creating a positive experience or a negative experience? And that's all about presence, how you're showing up, how people experience you. So, I told you consequences of not having presence. Here's the good news. When I teach people to connect to their authenticity, their confidence, their purpose, guess what? It transforms their presence. They find their swag. You know what I'm saying? It elevates the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they engage with people, the way people experience them. And over again, I've seen career opportunities open up for people that were once out of reach. So, Exhibit A for proving the presence formula works is my work with other people. Exhibit B is my work with myself. Before my stretch in the men's county jail, before I did that hard time, as you heard, I was an actor in Hollywood, and I had a great run as an actor. I was on all the popular TV shows. I was on like 10 different cop shows. I was a cop in 5 non-cop shows. I was in all those acronym shows, the ER, the NCIS, the CSIs. I was DOD counterintelligence supervisor Emma Fisher on JAG. I was on all the shows. And you would think that I was having so much fun, that I was living my best life. But that was not my experience. Not only did I feel lost and unfulfilled, I felt like I was performing all the time. Not just in my acting, in life in general. Anybody ever feel like that? Feel like you're performing sometimes? Like you're showing the world some version of yourself that isn't really you? He's nodding his head. So it's not just me? Yeah. It's a terrible, horrible, no good feeling. For me, the mask I was presenting to the world was that I did have it all figured out, that I had it all together, when inside, I was deeply, deeply unhappy. You see, I had spent so much time accomplishing out there that I hadn't spent any time in here, figuring out who I was and what I really wanted. And so I did what anyone in my position would do. I quit acting and meditated for 5 years. Isn't that what you would do? Yeah? I call it my big time out. Anybody have kids? Put your kids in a timeout. That's what I did to myself. I put myself in a timeout, put myself in a corner. And I want to make it clear, this was not some cushy Hollywood vacation. No. I saved up enough money for a 1-year sabbatical. I'm going to find myself. Turned into 5 years. And so I put all my furniture in storage. I downsized to 1 bedroom, not a 1-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom. I racked up $27,000 in credit card debt, watched my friends move on with their lives while I sat in my apartment doing intense self-examination to confront the demons that had been chasing me from my childhood for no other reason than this was what my soul was calling me to do. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was also the most important because I didn't know it at the time, but I was asking myself authenticity, confidence, and purpose questions like, who am I and who do I want to be? What are my skills, my gifts, my talents? What do I want my legacy to be? And it's a little ironic that I had to quit acting and stop performing to step into my true presence so that I could teach it. But that's exactly what happened. I had to do the work within to do my work in the world. No matter who you are or what your work is, you have to influence other people to get things done. You have to influence other people to accomplish your goals, especially in the stressful, chaotic situations that you find yourselves in every single day. And I can tell you that influence is so much easier when you have the kind of presence that makes people want to know you, want to listen to you, want to follow you, want to work with you, want to be around you. And you don't have to yell and scream and be a jerk to get people to do what you need them to do. We all know what that looks like, don't we? We've all had bosses like that. I know I have, who come in and right? Start barking orders, start bullying people. Or who's had this? The boss with an ego the size of a Mack truck. They can barely fit through the door because their head is so big, right? That's not real presence. No. Real presence is when you, by example, when you're the kind of person that people look at you and they go, wow, who is that? Whatever they're working on, I want to be a part of that. That's real presence. And that's what we're going to be working on for the next 45 minutes. And that's all about authenticity, confidence, and purpose. So this ACP presence model, says that when you cultivate the principles of authenticity, confidence, and purpose on the inside, you naturally begin to express and embody more presence on the outside. Now, I'm going to be talking for a little bit. You may have noticed there are microphones right here, right there, and right there. I want this to be a conversation. There's going to be a little bit of time at the end for us to talk. So as I'm talking, I want to invite you to be thinking. How do I apply these concepts to me, to my life, to my work? So at the end, you can stand up and ask me some questions. Is that a deal? Sound good? Yeah? You still with me? Turn to your neighbor and say, hair of the dog. That's what you're going to need tonight when you leave here. All right, so let's start with authenticity. I'm very big on definitions. What are we talking about here? Authenticity. I define it as knowing yourself and showing yourself. You need to do both to be authentic. Because you can know who you are, but not show who you are. I see that a lot. And you can be showing, but not be showing your true self. Remember my story. Now, whenever I'm working with my clients, with anybody, I ask them to grade themselves on the knowing and the showing separately, because these are different skill sets. These are different, totally different things. So let's do that right now. On a scale of 1 to 5, low to high, how many of you feel like you know yourself pretty well? You know yourself pretty well. Yeah? Some of you are like, yeah, and that's good actually. Because some people feel like they know themselves when they actually don't. That's great. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, low to high, how many of you feel like you show your authentic self consistently? Not as many hands. This isn't totally scientific, but I think you're normal. Because what I find often is that we feel like we know ourselves. For the most part, we're walking around in this meat suit, right? We're inside ourselves. I know who I am. It's the showing piece that can feel a little harder. And it's because, did you say meat suit? Yeah. Did that just land? Okay. Meat suit, oh yeah. This is a meat suit, right? The showing piece can feel a little harder because, I'm going to drop this bar right here. Authenticity is authority that comes from the truth of your experience. Think about my story with the jail. It's authority that comes from the truth of your experience. And the biggest obstacle to us standing in our truth is, drum roll please, fear of rejection. Let's just put it out there. Fear of rejection. We're afraid that if we show people, tell people what we really think and feel, who we really are, what we've experienced, that they won't like us or accept us or understand us. And we're not crazy, we're not making it up. Raise your hand if you've ever been rejected. Raise your hand if you like being rejected. What happened? What happened to all the hands? No one likes being rejected. It hurts, it's painful, it sucks. Easy solution, put up a wall. A big old reinforced wall. A great big wall of China. And we hide our authentic selves behind that wall. But here's the thing about that wall. Sometimes we don't even know it's there. You know, years ago, I had this fantastic acting teacher. Anybody ever take an acting class? A curiosity, improv, anything? Oh, we got one right over here. Yeah, I had a fantastic acting teacher. His philosophy was your weakness as an actor is your weakness as a human being. Because an actor has to be versatile, flexible, able to play a lot of different roles. But if you've got an emotional block somewhere, it's going to limit the kind of parts you can play. And so when you enrolled in his class, you would have to sit and do an interview. Anybody remember the Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton? It was kind of like that. You had to sit and do an interview and tell him all about your life, starting at birth, so that he could find your weakness and know how to develop you as an actor. So I enroll in the class, I do the interview, I tell him all about my life, and he very quickly saw my wall. I was tough. I had a hard outer shell, which is why I kept getting cast as the cop, as the lawyer, as DOD counterintelligence supervisor Emma Fisher. And I could not understand why, because inside my meat suit, I was the warmest, friendliest, cuddliest person. I wasn't the cop, I was the girl next door. I couldn't see my wall. And for years, people have been telling me, Michelle, do you realize your arms are crossed all the time? I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just comfortable for me. My resting pose was defensive, right? Keep out. Didn't see my wall. But this acting teacher saw my wall, and he saw that behind the wall was this very sensitive, emotional person. And so, to break down my wall, he gave me every crying scene you can imagine. Right? All the breakup scenes, don't leave me, no, I love you. Right? All those scenes, all the getting fired scenes, don't fire me, I really need this job. Right? All the hospital deathbed scenes, don't die on me, I can't live without you. Like all the scenes. Just crying, oh, just snot, all of it, right? And at first, I hated him for it. Hated him. But then, started to like it. Started to feel pretty good, because if I had a bad day, I could just go to my acting class and, right, just put it all in the scene that I was playing. I got so good at accessing the vulnerability of the characters that I was playing that it made me realize that one of my gifts is empathy, like scary empathy. Like I can feel other people's emotions kind of empathy, but it was hiding behind the wall. And it took that acting class for me to see my wall and to start to chip away at it. So, what's your wall? What's your wall? Maybe your wall, it's tough, like mine. Got a lot of strong guys here. Tough. Maybe it's analytical, right? Everything's got to be very thought through. It's hard to break through that. Maybe it's people-pleasing. That can be a wall as well. Walls come in all shapes and sizes. What's your wall? And just as important, what gifts are hiding behind the wall? because we think that wall is protecting us, but it comes with a price. Maintaining that wall takes a lot of energy, and it can cause anxiety and depression and burnout and fatigue and keep you from creating deeper connections with people. It can keep you from expressing your full potential. So we have to find the courage to take down some of those bricks from that wall and let our authentic selves shine through. Now, you might be saying, I'm totally on board, Michelle, but we don't have to do a bunch of crying scenes, do we? That's not required for authenticity, is it? The answer is yes. We're going to pass out some scenes. We're going to do some, no, we're not going to do that. No, you don't have to cry. Hey, look, if you want to cry, I'm not going to stand in your way, but it's not required. There are many ways that you can know yourself and show yourself. I'm just going to share a couple. The first is, you got to date yourself. You got to date yourself. Look, I'm going to be a little authentic and vulnerable with you all. I'm 52 years old. I've been single for a very long time. Mama needs a man, okay? So I have been dating. I've been out there in them streets. And it is amazing how many questions you ask people when you're trying to get to know them. Where'd you grow up? What school did you go to? What are your red flags? What are your green flags? What do you like to do for fun? What are your deal breakers? We're so curious about other people when we are dating them. But we also have to learn how to date ourselves, because that's how you get to know yourself. Got to ask those questions. You got to get curious about yourself. So, find some time throughout your day. Carve out some time for some you and you time. Maybe when you're doing the chores in the morning, when you're in the shower. I like to do it when I'm cleaning out the litter box in the morning for my kitties. Ask yourself those questions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why did I bite that guy's head off? He just said hello. What's behind that? What are my values? What do I believe? Why do I believe it? It's data collection. This data collection is vital for authenticity because, again, you can't show people who you are if you don't know who you are, right? So it starts with that. And then, once you know yourself, you can start to share some of those details. Again, many ways to do that, but here's another important way. Share your story. Tell people about your history. Those events, those moments that have shaped you into who you are today. You know, recently I was working with a young man. He's a brilliant consultant, works at one of those big fancy consulting companies. Brilliant consultant in AI and technology. The only problem is he kept getting feedback that he was a little too aggressive in meetings. Coming across as a little too aggressive, rubbing people the wrong way, causing conflict. And so they hired me to coach him. About 6 weeks in, we've been working together for 6 weeks. During one of our sessions, he casually tells me, oh yeah, before I was a consultant, I used to work at the Secret Service. Had a pretty high position of authority. I said, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, the secret what? You just now telling me this? You didn't think it was maybe causing you to be a little aggressive in meetings? Because the Secret Service, very different than a little consulting company. He didn't know himself. Didn't put two and two together. Didn't connect the dots. And then I asked him, so in your 6 years at this new company, 6 years, have you told anyone that you used to be in the Secret Service? No, I didn't think it was important. Didn't think it was important. Now look, it didn't totally absolve him. We had to work on his communication style, but at least they would have understood why he was the way that he was. That's what authenticity does for you. It gives you understanding. People connect because they understand you. You create a real connection because you're a real person. So, I want to make it very clear. You do not have to be 100% authentic 100% of the time. You wouldn't have many friends if you did that. I don't want you to do that. I don't want anybody getting into trouble and saying, Michelle told me to be authentic. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100. Don't do that. All that's required is just to know yourself a little bit more and show yourself a little bit more. That's all that is required. All right, how we doing? Anybody have any questions about authenticity and how it might relate to snow plowing? Questions? Comments? Snarky remarks? Everybody okay? Okay, let's move on to confidence. It's very easy to think that confidence comes from being good at something, from having a lot of experience, but it doesn't. Confidence doesn't come from competence. It comes from your belief in your competence. Very important distinction, because that means you can have all the experience in the world. You can be great at something. You can have people telling you how great you are. You can have awards on the mantle. If you don't believe it, you won't feel confident. It doesn't matter how many people tell you how great you are. I know this from experience. Back in 2002, I had the opportunity to be cast in a featured role in the touring company of The Lion King. Anybody see The Lion King? I have not seen The Lion King. Still haven't seen it. It's on Broadway 23 years later. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, right? Back then, it was the biggest show on Broadway. It had won all the awards. It was making tons of money. The casting directors knew me from previous auditions, and so when the touring company came along, they said, "We want you, Michelle." They essentially offered me the part. I didn't really have to audition. Let me just put this in terms that everybody can understand. An actor auditions for everything. I had to audition for Woman in a Coma on CSI. No joke. Can you pretend you're in a coma? Yeah, right? Everything. And so to be offered a part in something like The Lion King is every actor's dream, right? So here we are, and they're saying, "We want you, Michelle. Congratulations, welcome aboard." And I said, "Thanks, but no thanks." I turned it down. No thanks. Now, at the time, I said, I want to stay in Los Angeles and get some more cop parts. But if I'm really honest with myself, I turned it down because I wasn't confident I could do the role. I had major imposter syndrome about my singing. I thought, yeah, they like it now, but they're going to realize I can't sing. They're going to need some auto-tune. They believed in me. I did not believe in myself. As an executive coach, I often get asked to work with talented professionals. They're crushing it at their jobs. They're killing it. There's no doubt about their competence, but their lack of confidence in themselves keeps dragging down their presence, and so their leaders don't feel confident putting them in front of a client. So what's happening? What is causing this disconnect between your ability and your belief in your ability? Between your competence and your confidence? Well, it turns out that there are 4 kinds of experiences that we use to create our feelings of confidence. And here they are. And as I talk through these, I want you to self-diagnose. If you have some issues with your confidence, and only you know, right? This is where you get honest with yourself. If you've got some issues with your confidence, the clue may be here. There may be some stories that you are telling yourself that are keeping you from feeling as confident in your ability as you should, keeping you feeling like you are a fake, a phony, a fraud. Maybe you experienced a failure in your past. You didn't do as well as you would like, and now you're saying, I'm no good and I'll never be any good. Maybe somebody gave you some criticism. A boss, a parent, a teacher, somebody you respect. And now you're saying, well, they said I'm no good, so it must be true. Maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody. This one's really interesting. You ever compare yourself to somebody who you think is worse than you at something? It feels great, doesn't it? You're like, they suck. I'm amazing. I'm crushing it. And then you compare yourself to somebody who you think is better than you, and you're like, they're amazing, I suck. It's funny how that happens. And we can start to tell ourselves, I'll never be as good as that person, so I might as well quit while I'm ahead. This one's mine, by the way. This is my confidence killer. No joke, one of the reasons why I didn't feel confident I could do that Lion King part was because I was comparing myself to Whitney Houston. Yeah, crazy, right? Whitney Houston. I thought, look, if I'm going to be in a Broadway show, if I don't sound like Whitney Houston, I shouldn't open my mouth. Sometimes our physiology can betray us because we get nervous because we're human, but we start to tell ourselves, uh-oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I got the dry mouth. I got the sweaty palms. That must mean I'm not ready, because if I was ready, I wouldn't be nervous, right? You see all the stories we tell ourselves? We're doing it to ourselves. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. Anybody have any insight into what their confidence killer is? Did this shed some light for somebody? I'm seeing the yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. To boost your confidence up, to build it up, you have to know what's tearing it down. You have to know what's the story I'm telling myself. So the first step in building up your confidence, what's my confidence killer? What is it that I'm telling myself that's keeping me from feeling like a fake, a phony, a fraud? So that's step one. And then step two is to choose. You got to choose. You got to make a choice. Sure, you can choose to base your confidence on a few experiences that may possibly, potentially suggest maybe that you're not good enough. You could do that. Or you could choose to base your confidence on all the actual evidence that proves your competence. And so I want to encourage all of you to make a list of your success stories. You all have been accomplishing and achieving things your entire lives. You wouldn't be in this room if that were the case. So we forget, though. We forget all the things that we've done in our lives because we're so busy doing. So I want to encourage you, put it on paper. Make a list of all of your success stories, both professional and personal. It all counts. All the things you've accomplished, all the things you achieved that were really hard. You didn't know if you could do it. People told you you couldn't do it, but you persevered and you pressed through and you did it. And let's not forget plain old life adversity and hardship. We've all been through that. Because to overcome and come through those experiences required skills and inner resources that are just as much a part of your competence as your technical skills, as your subject matter expertise. So for example, yes, being on this TV show and that TV show, those things prove my competence as a keynote speaker and coach on presence, but I don't base my confidence just on those things. No, I base my confidence on so much more. Like overcoming homelessness when I was a child, overcoming having a mother with a severe mental illness, having to visit her in a mental institution, not knowing how we were going to pay the bills or sometimes what we were going to eat for dinner. Overcoming those things required resilience, determination, agility, creative problem solving, a sense of humor. Why do you think I'm so funny, right? It's from all that stuff. Intuition, resourcefulness, the ability to quickly assess situations and people. I use those things every single day in my business. They give me confidence. What have you overcome and come through? I bet if some of you shared one of your stories, just one, we would look at you like, wow, you are amazing. How did you do that? I don't know if I could have done that. But we're so bad at giving ourselves credit for those victories. Our victories. So, the next time you need a confidence boost, the next time your knees are knocking, the next time you feel like a fake, a phony, a fraud, remind yourself, I did that, I can do this. I did that, I can do this. I went to night school to get that degree. I overcame that illness. I went through that natural disaster. I got out of that bad relationship. Whatever that is for you, whatever that is, I did that, I can do this. I can raise my hand. I can go for that promotion. I can have that uncomfortable conversation. I can lead that project. I did that, I can do this. We can choose what we believe about ourselves. That's what confidence is all about. Last principle, purpose. Purpose. Purpose is so important. On the screen, I've got two statements that essentially describe the same situation. It's just framed differently. The first statement is an example of what I call a gotta statement. Whenever I'm working with people, I always ask them, what's the purpose of your talk? What's the purpose of your meeting? Whatever we're working on. I hear a lot of gottas. I just got to give them an update. I just got to meet with this person. I just got to tell them what's going on. There's no real excitement or enthusiasm. It's just something you gotta do. Hence the name, a gotta statement. Question for you. How often are you in the gottas? 25% of the time? 75% of the time? Probably more than you would like. The second statement is what I call a purpose statement. It's focused on how you're contributing something of value. It's focused on how the experience you want to create for other people. It's internally driven. So there's a positive emotional investment. Purpose makes you psychologically and emotionally engaged in what you're doing. Translation, you want to be there. You want to be doing what you're doing. Unless you're a really good actor, if you don't want to be there, if you're not that into it, if it's just not your thing, it's going to show up in your presence. It's going to show up in the way that you talk to people, the way that you engage, and how they experience you. I know we think we can fake it, but people can sense it. So, create a purpose statement for yourself to elevate you from being task-oriented, I just got to check the box oriented, to vision oriented. How can I use this experience to create meaning for myself and others? We don't have to wait for purpose to drop out of the sky and hit us on the head. We can create purpose every day for any situation. And when we do that, we change and shift and transform how we show up and engage in that situation. So let me just make this very, very concrete for all of you. I want you to think about a part of your job that you hate doing. You hate it. Man, I can't stand it. I got to do this again. Oh, I wish somebody else would do this. You hate it. You only do it because you got to do it. Now, some of you might be going, Michelle, I have a whole list of things I hate doing. Where do I start? Just start at the top. Just one thing. Everybody got that thing you hate doing in your mind? Create a purpose statement. See if you can create a purpose statement. Be creative. How does it connect to a value of yours? How does it connect to something that's interesting to you? Maybe there's some meaning, not just for you. Maybe there's meaning for the people around you. I know this can be challenging. Trust me. You know, I did this with a group of country club managers. Country club managers. I paired them up, because this can be a little challenging. And these two women called me over and they're like, Michelle, we are stumped. Cannot come up with a purpose statement for this activity. So the first woman says, at the end of my shift, I have to write these daily summaries. I have to write down everything that happened throughout the day. That's how she said it. I have to write down everything that happened throughout the day. I hate it. I don't want to do it. Can't stand it. I'm tired. Don't feel like doing it. Feels like busy work. Don't want to do it. Okay. I said, let's take a step back. Why do you think they're asking you to do this? What's the point? And the second woman said, so the manager coming in the next day knows what they're walking into? It creates some continuity? I said, yeah. So this isn't busy work. You're helping to run the business. And the first woman went, oh, eyes got wide. She actually got excited. Now let's recap what happened. We didn't change the job. We created purpose for the job. And now she has an elevated sense of her own role, which gives her a sense of meaning and contribution. And I guarantee you, she's doing those summaries differently. And people are noticing. That's the thing with authenticity, confidence, and purpose. They're the gifts that keep on giving. Not only do they benefit you, but they have a ripple effect. When you know yourself and show yourself without the Great Wall of China, when you believe in yourself because you know what you've overcome and come through, when you're invested and know you're contributing something of value, you change the experience of the people around you. They respond to you differently. You inspire them to be more authentic, confident, and purposeful. And now you change the whole dynamic in your environment, and it starts with one person. You. 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 That's powerful. That is power. That's power. Look, I'm hoping that at this point, you feel a little different than you did when you came in. I'm hoping that you feel a little more empowered. If you do, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Yes, we've been talking about presence and building that with authenticity, confidence, and purpose, but what we've really been talking about is this stuff right here. Personal power. We don't talk enough about personal power. Personal power is about having a strong sense of self. It's about having a sense of agency, believing that the choices and decisions and actions that you take contribute to the outcomes in your life. It's about believing that you can influence people. It's about feeling empowered from the inside out, not just the outside in. Personal power. It's kind of like having a strong core. Everybody know what the core is? Anybody work out? Who are my workout people? CrossFitters? Anybody do CrossFit? Y'all are crazy if you do CrossFit. But CrossFit, working out, it's all about the core, right? The core is your central muscle group in your body. It's the abdomen, it's the back, it's the pelvis, it's the hips. When you've got a strong core, you're more stable, you're more balanced, you're more flexible, you've got greater endurance. When you have a weak core, it throws everything out of balance, and it can make you susceptible to injuries. I learned this the hard way. Several years ago, I started having some issues with my hips, and I ended up tearing both hip labrums. That cartilage in your hip joints, ooh-wee, painful. My hips hurt, then my back hurt, then my knees joined the party. I was shuffling around like an old lady. Like, oh, this is it. This is how it ends. Thought I was going to need surgery. Go to the orthopedic surgeon. The surgeon says, before we do the surgery, I want you to go to physical therapy. So I go to physical therapy, and the therapist says, you have a weak core. We got to work on strengthening your core. I said, sounds fantastic. What the heck is a core? Let's talk about that first. Told me what a core is. I went, oh. So we started to work on my core. And now I have a workout regimen. I lift weights. I'm in the best shape of my life. Didn't need surgery. But now, any physical activity, I use my core. Talking to you all today, core. Cleaning out the litter box, core. Stairs, walking, core. I finally accepted this has to be a priority for the rest of my life. I need a strong core. Personal power is kind of the same thing. It's a strong core. You know, I have the privilege of working with professionals, people who are 10, 20, sometimes 30 years into their careers. in their entire adult lives that they've been on the hustle treadmill, chasing the money and the title and the responsibility and the recognition. Don't get me wrong, I love some money. I love the title and the responsibility and the recognition. I'm type A. I love stuff like that. It's just that these folks have it. They have all those things, but the way they're showing up isn't working. And so they come to me and they say, Michelle, I need to work on my presence. I've been told I need to work on my presence. But that's just a symptom. Because what's really going on is they're disconnected from their personal power. They're out of balance. And it's causing all kinds of problems, like lack of presence, plateauing in their career, not being able to move forward, conflict with their colleagues, burnout, even confusion. I did everything I thought I was supposed to. It's still not enough. But then we start doing the work within. We start building up their core. We counter the limiting beliefs and the insecurities and the ego stuff and the imposter syndrome, just all that stuff. We counter all of that with authenticity, confidence, and purpose. And when you cultivate authenticity, confidence, and purpose, you reconnect to your personal power. And when you have high personal power, you have greater self-awareness, greater self-esteem. You're more confident. You're more optimistic. You're more motivated. You're more resilient. You have greater memory, greater attention. You're better at goal setting and decision making. And all those things make you bolder, stronger, more balanced. And when you feel powerful on the inside, you look powerful on the outside. And you don't have to fake it. So, let's come full circle with the presence formula. Presence equals authenticity, confidence, and purpose, which are the building blocks of personal power. And when you feel confident on the inside, you embody the kind of presence that makes people want to know you, want to listen to you, want to work with you, want to follow you, want to be around you. Each one of you has that potential. You've already started just by being here. It's just about putting these principles into practice and committing to the transformation. So I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share my purpose with all of you. But before I go, I want to pause and remind you that there are some microphones standing right there. What questions do you have? Anybody have any questions or comments about anything that I've said today? You're among friends. You're among friends. Anybody? I saw some of you taking pictures of my slides. Better pay me some royalty. Don't be stealing my ideas, my IP. Seriously, anybody have any questions? No? I'm that good a communicator? Like, I nailed it on the first pass? Here's a question I get sometimes. Michelle, so you talk about how when you don't have personal power, well, I keep getting told that I'm too powerful. Anybody ever get that kind of feedback? I show up and I'm too powerful. What happens then? The problem isn't I don't have personal power. Sometimes I have too much personal power. Here's how I would answer that. There might be a couple of things going on. Remember that wall concept I talked about earlier? Sometimes we can overpower people as a wall. If we come in and we just suck up all the air in the room, and we have to balance that by encouraging the people around us to have their personal power as well. So that's how I would answer that, but that has come up a lot. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? All right, great. Well, I'm going to pat myself on the back. It's been lovely being with you all today. Before I go, I want to share one final quote. And this is by the activist and poet Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. See, I see you taking them pictures. Dare to be powerful. Step into your presence and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.